Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro. It's time to review Another Round, directed by Thomas Vinterberg, starring Mads Mikkelsen.
Film's about a group of high school teachers in Denmark that decide to experiment with alcohol and keep a low level of intoxication throughout the day.
This is after one character explains a philosophy from some philosopher that humans are existing with a too low blood alcohol concentrations. They need to get it up in order to be their full selves. Does it work? Will these men go off the rails? Who knows?
The film is like sort of predictable. Like you kind of know the arc it's going to take. However, I thought that towards the end, if it was like the most generic version of its kind, it wouldn't have ended on the statement that it did. It came out being, I think, a really honest look at what drinking does for people, why it's such a huge staple of kind of every culture. For the most part, the movie's pretty simple. Like you kind of understand where the plot is going to go just from the description. They're gonna try it out, like it's probably going to go well for them for a while, and then like after a while, things might not go that well. But I think where it ends up is actually rather interesting and honest. It could have gone in the direction where it's being more of like a drugs bad PSA, and it definitely doesn't do that, and it ends up being a very honest look at what the benefits of alcohol kind of are or can be. And it kind of has like a little bit of a philosophy about how you should live your life and how to like kind of not run out of steam. It is a rather fun, pretty lightweight, pretty lighthearted. Ultimately, it feels like it's just very much about like drinking.
I actually found myself really intrigued by some of the heavier moments towards the middle of the movie. I wasn't sure if I felt like the ending lived up to those or solved all of the darker questions that the movie poses in the beginning, because it is about a midlife crisis. It's about a guy who is afraid that he's becoming boring, which felt very real. And Mads Mikkelsen, in a couple scenes in the beginning, like really hit that home. You may go, damn, that would just suck to not know what to do about being boring. And of course, turning to alcohol makes sense for the character. And like you were saying, the movie doesn't take the most predictable turn you could imagine. But I don't know if where it ended up in the end felt like very revelatory. Occasionally, it felt like the effect of alcohol on this character kind of made him do exactly what needed to happen for the story in a way. It almost felt like a little convenient.
I agree, and I also disagree. When it's working for him, it's like this silver bullet. It solves like almost too many problems to be realistic. I don't know if I personally have experienced that alcohol can solve all of these problems and making you like a less boring person, and then like also improving your career and stuff. I'm not sure how realistic that felt, but at the same time, like, I personally don't partake as much as others generally do, and maybe that is a real experience for some people. I kind of disagree with you about the ending. Like, I think where it ended up is actually more honest than not. The movie is actually giving a more realistic take about how people in general view it.
I think the movie's take on like alcohol is realistic.
Yeah,
I like
that's
where
why
it
it
settles
ended
with
up in
that.
a good place.
I think my issue is more that there seems to be an aspect where the midlife crisis is beyond alcohol's health. It almost felt like there was a layer where this movie wasn't really willing to go in terms of confronting that midlife crisis. It kind of does it in a very easy way.
I think the movie doesn't necessarily go that deep, but I don't think it has to, and it feels like it resolves in a realistic way for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I just don't know if the movie ended up being like super interesting to me. The performances like across the board carry very well. Not only is Mads Mikkelsen very good, and he has some great dancing in the movie that will be remembered and perhaps memed. There are some good supporting performances from the other teachers. The actress who played Mads Mikkelsen's wife ended up really nailing the scenes where she was able to shine. So it's like a very well acted movie. I think it's a really well shot movie. I thought it had like a good sort of semi-improvisational feel.
I thought the cinematography wasn't outstanding, actually. Vinterberg comes from like the Dogma 95 movement, which includes Lars von Trier, which is like a Danish film philosophy that like von Trier and him started out like making films with, which is like make everything very real, avoid cliches, avoid explosions, weapons of any kind. The camera movement kind of has like this residual thing with that movement where it feels a little improvisational, like it's just picking up on stuff spontaneously, but it doesn't really commit like hard enough in that direction that it provides something like interesting with the filmmaking. I think the ending scene actually was like quite nicely shot. Like, it works really well for some of the more outlandish scenes. I think where the film didn't totally bring me in is just that it doesn't feel that big or that unpredictable. So I like the plot. I like where it starts out, and it has like a good conflict with this character. It takes a long time for it to like pick a direction that's actually kind of unique or interesting. My takeaway from the movie is very much like, yeah, that's a movie about drinking. Like, it's kind of fun. It captures like the energy, the spirit of it. And that's like really what the movie is. So it was enjoyable, but I wouldn't say it was like profound to me. The experience of watching this will vary, like, depending on how funny you find the movie. I feel like if I were in a theater, there would be some people who would think it's like very funny the whole time, where I was just kind of like a little bit of a chuckle.
There's a lot of fun scenes in the beginning of the movie. Like, it's interesting to watch this experiment unfold. Very entertaining movie. Some scenes were very dramatically captivating. Others felt a little lighter. It is kind of this front runner for the foreign film Oscar at the moment. There's not a whole lot of other contenders that feel like super strong and sturdy. And it makes sense. Like, Thomas Vinterberg is kind of a well-known name at this point. It would be nice to see him win an Oscar.
I think it's really interesting that we actually have a movie that's about drinking, that's not a PSA, and not about alcoholism, and is just kind of honest about like how the culture treats it and why we do it. We haven't really seen that too much before. I'll go with like a very good 7.
I'll go with a 6 just because I'm in between, and I'm going to go with the lower one. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
What level of drunk do you like to be?